Welcome to Just a Thought with Amy Keys. We are here to inspire, educate, inform, and entertain. On today's episode, I have a very special guest. This is my producer, my editor, my sound tech, my IT helpline, and problem solver guru and husband, Shawn Keys. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm used to being behind the scenes with this and not on mic, but looking forward to the discussion today.
Well, thanks for being here. I really appreciate it because this podcast could not and would not exist without you in my corner. And so since today's topic is basically all things about this podcast, I think it's time to just jump right in.
Let's go.
Okay, let's go. All right. So what people don't know is that actually I wanted this episode about the podcast to be the first episode ever. And you said no, because we recorded several guests already. And you said, nope, we got to get those folks in and then just explain it.
Yeah,
Why?
Well, you and I sat down and we recorded a couple of sessions. I think we didn't like the first one. We did the second one. And then when we brought the first round of guests in, you did 3 in one weekend, I believe.
3 in one weekend.
And they were so phenomenal that I was like, I'm not going on first. You've got to have these other people on, because they were some really interesting people, you know, between Kat, the business owner, and the Colvettes who ran the half marathon in France, and the Willards with the vacation tips. I mean, it was really just some phenomenal guests we had. So I felt it was better to, you know, intro with some of those, and we'll talk podcasting later on.
I think after the first one with Kat, I think you looked at both of us with this big smile and said, that was awesome.
Well, I think I looked at you and said, you were made for this.
Oh.
To both you and Kat, actually. So.
Well, she definitely is made for this.
Yeah.
We'll find that out as we progress. But, you know, the podcast came to be with friends over the past few years saying, hey, you know, Amy, after I've made social media posts or after I've maybe had discussions with them, you need to be a blogger or have a podcast. And I was like, no. Of course, self-doubt, self-esteem, and all the questions and life being busy, you know, roll into your head and you think, no, I don't have time for anything else on my plate. But at Christmas this past year, somebody on this podcast bought me all the equipment for this podcast. And so here we are, because I couldn't very well say to my biggest encourager and my husband, who is like, here are these gifts. I believe in you. I couldn't not do it. And then I went to a meeting at church, and it was a women's group at church that I rejoined, and I had not been there in, I think, 8 years, this past January. So right after you gave me the equipment, and the guest speaker was one of my mentors and women I look up to greatly, Dr. Mary McDonald. And she has a podcast with her friend Maureen. It's a wonderful podcast called Make It Make Sense. And the meeting program was about podcasts. And I thought, okay, I hear you, Lord. I hear you. There's no such thing as coincidence. You've put me in this meeting for a reason. And to hear Mary and Maureen speak about how they do it, they were so humble about their story. But Mary, I have known since I was in high school. And she is just a picture of grace, eloquence, poise, professionalism, and class. I mean, 5 things that just are the epitome of amazing. And so I thought, well, if she's going to do this podcast on hers, I want to do one too. And that was really the conduit to getting things rolling. Then, of course, life gets busy. And here we are, you know, 6 months after that meeting, and we're up and rolling. I think you were pretty impressed with my lineup so far.
Oh, yeah.
Guests.
Oh, yeah. I don't know how you've done it, but you've got, over a dozen people, I think, lined up?
Right now, including the 3 I have already recorded with, 23 guests.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, that gets us almost to Christmas if we do it weekly, which I'm not committing to weekly. We'll see.
Yeah, and I know you've been very thoughtful about who, too. I mean, you're finding people with interesting stories or interesting professions or businesses and things like that. So,
well, you know, the purpose, that leads me perfectly into the purpose of the podcast. Like, why is it even here? And I think it's going to be amazing to actually put to use the fact that I talk a lot.
Yeah,
because
it's a gift, definitely.
To invite people to a casual and comfortable setting to tell their story. And everybody has stories. I've never met someone who doesn't. Some of the stories might seem ordinary, but they could change a listener's life. They can educate. That's why the podcast is about inspiring, educating, informing, and entertaining. Because one guest might come on and teach you new things. Like the Willards taught me a lot about travel and travel tips and the value of travel and all the things around that. But then Kat inspires people by her drive and her hard work and how she's built a business so quickly. And then we talk about fitness. So we're educating. It's all over the map. And I really want to give people voices, especially 501(c)(3)s and charitable groups, community leaders. I mean, I've got some pretty important folks. Everybody's important coming on the show. But we have, so many great stories coming. And I want it to be unpredictable, and I want it to be swinging wildly from one week to the next.
I think you've got that covered. So yeah.
You doing all that you can on your end for me is making it easier for me to put the thought and creativity into the planning and the questions. There's a lot more production work than I thought. I think a lot of people think you just buy a microphone and plug it into the wall, and that could not be more incorrect.
You wouldn't plug it into the wall, but
no, you wouldn't plug it into the wall. And I think people think it's a simple thing, but like on my end, I have to communicate and invite guests and communicate with them, send them questions, talk to them about the tone of the show and the way it is, and then work with them on when they're going to come and when we're going to talk and all the things. So there's a lot of pre-production, and then the actual recording, and then it goes to you and you polish it up.
Yep. Post-production. You probably spend more time in post-production than you do in production. So
you have listened to me in post-production more than you probably have our whole marriage.
Oh, I've listened to each of the recordings we've done. I've listened to at least 4 times, from start to finish during editing and things like that.
But I can tell when you're listening to edit, when you're walking around with your earbuds in, because you're smiling.
Yeah, it's entertaining. Yep.
It's entertaining.
Yeah,
I hope it means you're just liking this.
Well, and I pick up new little tidbits every time too, new things that I probably missed the first time through and things like that. So it's pretty interesting.
But I am genuinely humbled and pretty shocked that 23 people, or actually it's probably about 40 people because some are duos coming in at the same time, are like, sure, I'll do it, without even hearing how I can do a podcast, without even knowing where this is going, if I'm going to have 5 listeners or 500. I love that my people believe in me, no matter how well I know them or don't know them. That has been really good for me. I mean, I've only had one person say, let me kind of see how it all goes first. And I respect that. So the fact that I'm pretty much almost booked for 2026 is insane because it's not even on the platforms yet.
Wow.
So I'm happy. That makes me very happy. And so where do you think the podcast is going? What do you think is going to happen with this?
It's hard to say. I think you've got a pretty big following with your existing business and you're pretty well known in the community. So I think those people will, want to jump in and hear what you have to say. Where it goes from there is anybody's guess. I think it's going to be popular though, mainly due to the people that you have lined up. And I don't know if you're going to go into any details on or give us any clues about who may be coming, but
maybe.
But I think with the lineup, I think it'll get more and more popular, word of mouth, things like that. So, and maybe you'll be nationwide one day.
Oh goodness. Well, we'll see on that. No pressure. I think we realized how, well, I guess we both did. I will speak for myself. When you loaded the podcast up to Spotify, we were sitting in the backyard when you did it on a Friday evening, and it was sort of like that whoa moment.
Yeah, it was freaky, and that was just evidence that anybody can do this. And if you just get the right equipment, get the right software, and have some interesting stuff, you can go out and sign up, build a podcast, and hit publish on your phone. And I think we were in the backyard when I did that, and to see your podcast in the lineup of, because I listen to a lot of podcasts, but to see your podcast in the lineup of all the popular shows I listened to was pretty amazing.
Yeah, you had me lined up with some big dogs.
Oh yeah, yep.
I just want it to make a difference. And you mentioned my business, and I do think it's important on here to emphasize that I am not using this podcast for personal gain or monetization. Several of my friends who know about it are like, ooh, you can make a lot of money doing that. And I said,
Not as much as you think.
well, tell them that story. Tell them the $19 story.
Yeah. I've done way too much research on Reddit, learning how to do all this stuff. And I ran across a pretty interesting thread with someone who had been podcasting for 12 months and posted his entire story on Reddit, just for feedback or to share, learnings. And he went through all the, what goes into pre-production with lining guests up and all the recording. He talked about his hardware, his software, how much he's spending each month on it. Just went through in a lot of detail, talked about post-production. And at the end, he was like, and 1 year later, I've made $119. So there's not big money unless you're, a well-established, big player.
Right. And I have talked to you about the fact that if it ever gets to the point where I am a big player and, have swanky home office situation, all that.
You mean this isn't swanky what we have here?
Well, not yet. Not yet. It's all about the content right now. No bells and whistles, no frills. But I don't find a need for bells and whistles and frills because honestly, I don't watch podcasts. I listen to them in the car or when I'm driving or when I'm cleaning the house or, working. But I don't want people to think that I'm inviting them to come here, or when I invite them to invite others to come here, I don't want people to think that I am sitting across the table from them with dollar signs in my mind.
Yeah.
I think that's really important. And I do think if it ever gets to that point where money is made, I think it should go to the various charities that come on this podcast.
Yeah, that's a good idea because you're definitely not doing it to earn income.
No,
there's a lot better ways to earn income than having a podcast.
And I have a job, and it is important for me to know that I'm not trying to blend my job with the podcast. I'm not here to funnel business to my own business. I'm not trying to do anything like that. It truly is coming from a place in my heart, and it's all your fault because you bought me all this stuff.
You expressed an interest, and I have a hard time finding Christmas gifts for you sometimes. So if you say it, I'm going to put it on the list. And a lot of research later, here we are.
Okay. All right. Well, that's fair. When you sign yourself up to do something like this, you literally with a podcast are publicly putting yourself out there to fail or succeed. Like, for the world to see.
Yeah, definitely.
And, I'm not going to have the world listening to me, but I realize there are people who don't like me, and there are always people who do not want you to win. I'm a cheerleader for my people, so I don't understand that concept in life, but I do know that there is always a risk of people commenting on it in a negative way. There are all kinds of things that, I'm setting myself up to have people hear me, but this podcast is not about me. It's about who's coming on the show.
Yeah.
And I am going to obviously speak to them. It's not going to be a Q&A where I ask you 10 questions and you sign off and leave. It's going to be a discussion. As you've heard on the past 3 podcasts.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, I've been having to flag you down and say, hey, we're 40 minutes in, 50 minutes in.
Well,
so, yeah.
I honestly, the podcast, I had planned on them being about 30 to 45 minutes.
Yep.
And all 3 of them have gone over about 60.
Right at an hour. Yeah.
But that is amazing because that's how much there is to talk about with people. And I try to let them do the majority of the talking, and I haven't, it's coming with ease.
It's worked. Yeah. It's worked really well.
Yeah. So, I'm out there, it's out there. And also one thing about when you're trying a new venture, 2 different things. This is kind of an adventure and a venture rolled into one. You learn about yourself. You always are going to learn about yourself when you try something new. It's like when you're trying to feed a baby a new food and they decide they don't like the spinach because they've been having the berries all this time. Well, I learned something about myself, and I think I already knew this, but I am not to be scripted. Ever.
Yes, I believe it. You're going to tell us the story? The pilot episode?
So in order, if I speak out of technical term, just correct me, but you're supposed to have a pilot episode, right?
Yeah, well, it helps to get the show set up and make sure you've got all the connectivity in place and things like that. It's more of a test to do it. So yeah, like a 60-second pilot that just introduces what the show is. It was my idea to have you do it, so you can blame me.
Well, no, it's okay. But it was 1 minute and 38 seconds long.
Yep.
And it took me about 2 hours and 35 takes to read a small 1 minute and 38-second script, just basically describing the podcast.
Yeah. Would it be good to have some outtakes in here from that?
I don't know. Would it? I guess.
Well,
I don't know.
Well, I may have prepared a little montage just to show people how hard you work, and it might be just a little bit funny.
Okie dokie. Always up for a laugh, I think.
All right. Well, here goes. Pilot episode bloopers rolling.
Through genuine conversations with interesting people. Okay. Nope. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Just a Thought with Amy Keys. I can't tell you how excited. Dang it, Ripper. Suddenly, all my excuses disappeared, and the idea was no longer just a thought. It was, I can't do it. Everyone has something valuable to share, and I can't wait to introduce you. No. Delete it. Deleted. But I hope every episode leaves you feeling, okay, nope. Then one Christmas, my husband gave me podcast equipment. Dang it. Sit in front of this microphone for... Dang it. Some will be of the guests. Oh my gosh, I cannot do this. Friends would encourage me after reading something that I had written, or actually I suck. So they liked how I had conversation with them. Okay, I can't do it. After reading things that I had on the internet, oh my gosh. My goal for this podcast, I can't do it. After reading things that they wrote, oh my gosh, I can't do it, Andrew. Through great conversations with interesting... You made noise. You know how that goes. Shizzles. Turn it off.
Why?
Okay, turn it off. Just turn it off.
I'm working on it.
Which is not... Hold on.
You want to start over from scratch, or you want to just pick, because we can just pick back up.
You want to start over from scratch. Because
Okay.
I didn't like how I said show. I sound like a circus. And I need to silence my phone. Okay. See you later. Okay, well, that was well done.
Yep,
and
you like that? Yeah.
The little beeps, they
Oh.
sounded very professionally done.
It was professionally done.
Pardon all the content and frustration, but now that is, I guess, yeah, there you go.
Yep, you shouldn't be scripted.
I could go on a stage and talk to hundreds of people and not be phased, not even need a cue card or a note card. But when you'd have me scripted, I don't feel authentic. So there will not be anything like that on this show.
Please, no more scripts.
It was stressful. I would say a few things and I'd just get mad at myself and be like, it's like the funny blooper video show that they used to have, which I think they need to bring that show back because it was one of my favorites. But anyway, I digress. So you do learn about yourself. And in the process of learning about other people and their lives, I'm learning things there, but they're also learning about me. The Willards learned a lot about me in the travel episode.
Oh yeah, you think so?
And talk about setting yourself up for success or failure. People are going to learn all about Amy in some respects.
Hotel phobia and things like that.
It's not a phobia. They are precautionary measures. So, but I also am having fun working with you on this.
Yeah, likewise.
I like seeing how your mind works in a technical realm, I guess, because
I definitely do better with the tech behind the scenes than at the mic. The mic is your deal, so I enjoy the stuff. I enjoy the tech stuff.
I'm here to tell the world that opposites attract.
Definitely.
Extrovert married an introvert, but introvert is the backbone of the Extroverts podcast. So it's kind of cool how that works after all these
always
years.
are. Yep.
But Shawn you have definitely been the backbone of this. Like, it would not exist. And I probably would have kept putting it off if you didn't push me a little in a good way. And, the power of a podcast, I think about this a lot because social media is so wow. I mean, there are pros and cons galore. We could go down the list and take another half an hour of podcast time, which I'm not going to do, but we all know there's pros and cons. And thankfully, I have experienced a lot of pros from social media. I don't think this podcast would exist if it weren't for a few people recognizing things I say or post, particularly not when I post a picture of our dog or our family or something fun. It's usually a post, and I rarely make them, but I actually usually start them with just a thought, ...
Oh,
And so
deep
that's sort
thoughts.
of where some of the originating of the name came from of the podcast. But I do think, it's a chance to connect with other people. That is what the World Wide Web does. It connects. I know it does a whole lot of other things, but I'm going to go with the connect part. And so I'm excited to be able to use social media to get this up to platforms to connect with others. That's what this purpose is with the inspiring and the educating and all these things that I have goals for. I have really big goals for it. There will be a social media page for it. I'm not on TikTok, sorry, but I am on Facebook and Instagram. And I will be posting each week when the podcast will, the next one will launch and tell you what guest is coming on, what episode and such. So I'm really excited to be able to use social media. Social media it gets a bad rap, and it should sometimes, but in this case, let's use it for the good.
Yep. I love it.
Let's use it for the good. So folks, this is just a quick podcast about the podcast, and I hope it explains a few things and where we're coming from on it. I am very pleased to be here, and I'm going to roll Shawn right into my little rapid fire segment of podcasts. And
let's roll. Pressure's on, but let's roll.
No pressure. Yeah. I think my people have liked rapid fire, and rapid fire actually ends up kind of engaging in different little tidbits of conversation as we start to close out. So are you ready to roll?
Yep, let's go. Right. Let's do it.
Coffee or energy drink?
Oh, coffee is the original energy drink. So yes, coffee.
Some coffee company needs to hire you and take on that logo, and you should be advertising. How do you like your coffee?
Black.
You don't like it all bougie like I do?
Nope. No cream, no sugar.
I am not a coffee drinker, but when I do need a little caffeine, it's totally a skinny caramel macchiato, sugar-free, with all the chemicals and all that yummy foam on top. Book or movie?
A little bit of both. I think it depends on the mood, depends on the time. Books, take a little more time, a little more investment in it, but nothing like a good movie on a Friday night.
Well, what's your favorite book?
I would say it's probably different between fiction and nonfiction.
Okay, well, what's both? Give us both.
Best nonfiction book was Lone Survivor by Marcus Luttrell.
Okay.
He was a Navy SEAL in Afghanistan. Fascinating story. Movie was made from it as well. Fiction, probably The Shining by Stephen King.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
We've only watched that a dozen times.
And the book's better than the movie. It always is.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
If you could have a superpower, what would it be?
Probably lightning speed, like the ability to move really fast. I don't know why.
I already feel like I have that.
It'll just be kind of cool. Yeah.
Because I never slow down. Favorite musician?
Oh my gosh. I'm not a huge music person. So let me think here.
You like George Strait.
Okay. Yeah. There you go.
You like Led Zeppelin.
Yeah. There you go. So you answered it for me.
There
you go.
You.
Yeah. You answered it for me. Yeah.
I really shouldn't do that to my guests, but I know you, and you're like, I don't know, but I know those are favorites.
Yep.
What's your best way to start the day?
Early morning run before sunrise.
Okay. And boy, are you up before sunrise.
Got to do it. Get the day started.
Definitely the early bird of the family. So, and lastly, since we're talking about apps and things on this, what's your most used app?
In terms of total minutes used, I would say Spotify. And not just because we're on Spotify, we're not getting paid by them, but it's because I listen to a lot of podcasts, a lot of running, just, so it's always on, playing something in the background.
Awesome. Yeah. And if you're not hearing something in the background, you're probably hearing me run my mouth in the background, right?
That's true.
Well, everybody, that's a wrap for today. Shawn, I really appreciate you taking the time to come on the mic, because I know you don't love that part of this. And I don't like the part that you do. That's why we balance out each other so well. Folks, if you want to be on the podcast, if you have a wonderful organization you are part of, if you have a story in your life that you want to tell, no story or no group is too small, too big. You are all extraordinary. And I can be reached for the podcast at amykeyspodcast@gmail.com. That's AMYKEYS podcast@gmail.com. Platforms we're on are Spotify, Apple, Amazon, and iHeartRadio. And you can send me an email or send my email to whoever you think would be a great story to come on here. I would love to hear from you. It may be a few months before we can record because we have so many guests already lined up, but it also might be something where I want you to come on in a few weeks because I'm trying to, as I said earlier, mix that content up. I don't want 3 of the same type of groups coming on right in a row. So really appreciate y'all being here and listening. Appreciate you, Shawn. Until next time.